Hey guys, this is Julian of Julian Gray Media. Today's video is going to be rebooting a series I did a while ago, like 2 years ago, called Julian Talks, where I just basically ramble about a topic. This is something I wanted to cover for a while now. Today we're going to be talking about some of the blockades you might face as a beginner producer, and my thoughts on it, and how I believe that you can work through those blockades and continue on in your creative producer path, or whatever you want to call it. So when you're getting started as a producer, and I know this very well, I started about 8 years ago. It might be 7, it might be 9, something like that. I started when I was like 12 or 11. I'm 21 now. Wow, so it's closer to 9. Regardless of that, when you start as a producer, there's a lot of blockades that you encounter when you're first beginning. You might hear a song on the radio, or you might hear something of your favorite artist's work, and you're like, how on earth can I do that? How can I create work like that? My music isn't sounding like that. And there's a good reason for this. Those producers, I want you guys to think about your favorite producer right now, and think about the fact that those guys weren't born like that. Their level of mastery, someone like Deadmau5 for me, or Brendan Urie, or I don't know, Stevie Nicks even, their level of mastery was acquired over a long period of time. And that's something that is kind of hard to wrap your head around. There's a certain amount of time that goes into mastery of any sort. Think about the Olympics, for example. You couldn't walk into the Olympics and expect to compete with an Olympian that's been training for 10 years, just getting off your couch and going and, going for the mile run or whatever they do. I don't follow sports. That's a pretty good analogy, I believe. It's the same thing for any craft, really. Graphic design, music, they make it look really easy. You see guys like Armin van Buuren in the studio, and they're just like the project file is amazing. And you're like, wow, how on earth can they do that so quickly? But they make it look easy because of all the hard work that they've put in over the 10 years of their life or something like that. There's going to be a point in your career where it all just clicks for you. At least that's what happened to me. It was like 2 or 3 years ago for me, where all of the I guess the negative thoughts and like the I can't do this will just fade away. And you'll revert to the passion that you had when you first started making music. When you begin making music, you can work through any mental blockade that you have as long as you're passionate about it. If you're not passionate about making music and you're doing it for monetary reasons or something like that, it might not be the course for you, because music is inherently a very hard thing to do. It's not like a walk in the park. It's going to take years of practice, as we've just discussed. So as you work through these years of training, or year of training, or 5 years or 10 years, it could be a decade for you, for all I know. Every producer has a different time frame. It was like a really long time for me. Some producers get it in a year. There's some producers who are 14 years old who are better producers than I am. And there's some producers that are 30 that, I don't know. I consider myself a equal, if nothing else. That's besides the point. You're going to collect tips and tricks as you go along, and that's how you're really going to improve. And that's why beginner producers aren't as good as a big, well-known producer. They don't have all of the tips and tricks under their belt. Let's say that you don't know Serum, or you don't know sample selection, and I do mixing and engineering for a living on the side from the YouTube thing. That's like my main project, but I do some engineering for clients on the side and ghostwriting and stuff like that. And I find that some of the biggest pitfalls are really small things that I would change in a producer's project that would make the project astronomically better, that they just didn't see. And there's going to be a lot of moments like this where you learn one tip along your journey of music, and it's going to completely flip your world upside down, and it's going to make everything make more sense. And you're going to get these little tips and tricks that make your productions 1% better. You might learn to select this kick instead of that one. You might gain a contextual ear. So like this sample might sound good out of the mix, but in the mix, this one's going to sound better. And those little micro tricks and tips are going to make your music 1%, 2% better. But those little percentages are going to add up over time. You're going to get 50% better, and then 60% better, and then eventually you're going to get to a point where your stuff is sounding really, really good. And the trick is really to build that musical encyclopedia of tricks and tips that you've gained over the years of practice and trial and error and stuff like that. And that's really the main thing that helps a producer get along that way. And if you want to speed up the process of building that encyclopedia or that like framework of tips and tricks that's going to make your music from here to there, maybe find a mentor. Guys like Tai Lopez and other social media influencers really push this idea of finding mentorship in things like a mentor doesn't necessarily have to be a in real life human being, which is a great way to do it, by the way. If you can get an internship at a studio and learn from a professional engineer and you're trying to learn engineering, fantastic. That's a great way to learn. But there's other mentors as well. You might find a YouTuber that you really enjoy watching, or you might find a book that you were learning from. These are all people, and these are all mentors that are doing things with some level of credibility. Obviously, there's going to be some people that don't know what they're talking about. But these are all mentors that you can learn certain aspects from to add to that encyclopedia of things. One thing to look out for, though, like I just mentioned, is to kind of learn to spot when somebody doesn't know what they're talking about. And it's really easy to do that when you look at somebody's contextual work. Like if they're a musician and their music isn't something that you particularly enjoy, why would you try to learn a tip or a trick to add to your book or encyclopedia of musical knowledge that is a tip that you wouldn't necessarily enjoy to listen to? Like, let's say that you are a techno producer and this guy is a dubstep producer, and not to say anything bad about dubstep. I love dubstep, and a lot of my best friends are dubstep producers, but something like the way they mix a song down, if I'm learning from a dubstep producer, it's not going to apply to a house beat or a house tune, whatever it is. And that's really something that you should look for as well. Learning from people that make things that you enjoy. If you're learning from somebody who can't make what you enjoy to listen to or look at, or I don't know, use graphic designers or videographers. These are like basic ideas that can apply to any artistic field, by the way. If they aren't making something that you particularly enjoy or aspire to create, don't really follow their advice. Find somebody else. There's a million teachers in the world. There's a million mentors that you can learn something that you really like and that you can apply to your own music. And that goes back to the contextual ear thing too. Like, you might think this sounds good, but it doesn't sound good in the context of what you're doing. And that's another thing. You'll eventually learn that, this kick is going to sound better than that kick, even though this kick sounds better out of the mix. I digress. But basically, build up that encyclopedia of knowledge over the course of years. Don't try to rush into it, and don't overthink it, and don't allow the fact that your music isn't so great right now to kind of botch the perspective of where you could be tomorrow if you continue to learn from people or from yourself. There's a lot of great musicians who are self-taught too, that just trial and error forever, and that's kind of what I did. I not taking my own advice here. I just trial and errored for 10 years, and now I'm at a point where I'm pretty confident in where my music is, but it took me way longer now than some of the students that I have to get where I am today. I have some students that are equal producers to me, I'd consider, and they've been producing for 2 years, and that's because they're learning from someone like me who's making music that's similar to what they want to make, and they can kind of just dial in and learn exactly how to do it. And that's not to say that I'm the best teacher in the world. I'm definitely not. But finding someone who can teach what you want to learn and exactly what you want to learn and allow it to dial in and do exactly what you want to do is important, I think. So that was kind of a rant. And I'm sure you guys want to see my original music. This is kind of where I want to conclude today. Basically, the bottom line is, don't allow mental blockades to get in your way. Keep working at it. The best producers in the world are nothing more than you, plus 10 years of learning these micro tips and tricks that made them the producers that they are today. And everybody has a different encyclopedia too, unless you copy someone else. But anyway, everybody's going to have a slightly different set of tips and tricks, and that's where your originality is going to be found. So that is my tip for you today. Without any further ado, just to show you guys how I've progressed, let's give a listen to some of my earliest music. I have one video remaining online. It's on my personal Facebook account, and it's because I had a hardware failure and I lost all my old music. Unfortunately, I have one video remaining. It was from my first album. I made this album with no experience at all. My dad brought home a proprietary demo of a Behringer DAW, and I couldn't even save projects. I wrote the project, and then I'd export it because I couldn't save them. And I wrote a whole album like this. We're going to listen to some of that right now. So let's hop into the studio, check out some of the early Julian Gray or JG Fresh 1997 or DJJ plates that I made back when I was 11 or 12. Let's do it. When I was down, I was woo-hoo. This side is not covered. Okay, here we go. Opening up my Facebook page here, and as you can see, it says 3 years ago. This is because I found this 3 years ago, and in this post I said I made this album in like 7th or 8th grade. That was like 4 or 5 years ago from this 3 year ago period. So that was a long time ago, basically. And we're going to listen to it, and you're going to hear my reaction to it. It's been a while since I've heard this, and I found it this morning, and that's what really inspired this video. So let's give it a listen, and hope you enjoy. Escapade DJJ. And notice how it says DJJ, but it also says Julian Gray. It also says JG Fresh 1997. Oh, God. Digital Symphony. I made this logo in Microsoft Paint, I believe. And by the way, when I first started this, I had no idea what genres were. I just wrote whatever sounded cool to me. So like, I didn't even know house music from dubstep. It's actually not a terrible melody. What is this one called? I wish I had this MIDI still. Oh, Jesus. Oh my God, that's a throwback. This is like 2012, Julian, 2011. Oh, that's bad. This one had a cool melody, I remember. Oh man. Any more? Okay, well, that was my earliest music. Yeah, now you've heard the original Julian Gray, D double J, JG Fresh. And that was embarrassing, but I hope that gives you a little bit of a confidence boost. I know some beginner producers that were far better than I was when I first started, so I think that's proof enough that enough time and dedication and passion for whatever you're doing can get you to where you want to be. And I'm pretty comfortable where I am right now, in music at least. And I can testify that that level of comfort and confidence that I have in my music today was built over the series of 6 or 7 years. And just as a final note, keep working at what you're doing. Don't stop. If you really want to become a musician, if you really want to learn the guitar, if you really want to learn how to write music like this, but not like this because this is awful, keep working at it, and I believe that you can do it. So you have my high fives from Julian. There you go. That's what you have. You have my high fives, and you can do it. And I guess I'll talk to you in the next one. If you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you didn't, give it a dislike, and let me know why in the comments below. Let me know some of your earliest music. If you have some really early music that's really cringy and you want to share it, put it in the comments below, and everybody will give it a listen together. Let me know any future ideas for videos like this, and if you enjoyed this format of me just talking about a topic, let me know as well down in the comments, and maybe we'll do some more rambling videos like this. Other than that, not really much to be said. I'm Julian of Julian Gray Media, and I guess subscribe to the channel. I make a video every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.